Update. Now you can get 10 free email issues when you sign up for email at dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Discount codes, early access, exclusive content, the magazine, and access to the VIP page. Dearbusinesscoachpodcast.com. Hello. All right, there we are. Hi.
Hey, hi Elizabeth. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me. Welcome, Priyanka. And I actually have invited you to talk with me today. I put in the title here, How to Delegate Like a Boss. Is that what you're prepared to talk to me about?
Yeah, it looks like. So, yeah, what do you have in your mind today? And who are we helping with this today's session predominantly?
Well, you know what? I have a friend in mind who asked me about social media help. Somebody who asked me, "Oh, do you have help with your social media work?" And I said, "Yes, I do." um, and so delegating, I think, starts even as a person who's responsible for one role or one job. I get confused about what I can delegate or how to decide what I should delegate. And so I maybe we should start there.
Of course, Elizabeth. So I'll take a back step and also, sort of comment about something that many people in my experience and observation that I've observed is that people seldom don't realize the importance of it. And even when they need it, they need to delegate or they need to outsource. They haven't really identified that there is a need for it. And so I always talk about, my three-step solution, which is the CAT rule. If you don't know how to begin, how to get straight, you should look for the CAT rule, CAT. C stands for me in terms of clarify, clarify and get clear in your head, create a list. What are the things that actually needs to be done so that your brain can get the space? So literally create a list. In that list, write down the task that nobody else can do. And when I'm saying nobody else, it's genuinely your priority and also important for you to do. So those are the two things under the clarify rule. If nobody else can do it for you, it is important and it is priority for you, then you definitely get it yourself. If the list is again, a priority for you, and not so important in the list, is when you sort of delegate and, ask somebody else to do it. In the CAT rule, A stands for, assign. So assign that task to perhaps your virtual assistant or, a friend in help. If you can't really afford a virtual assistant, if you're not ready, look for people around and try and seek help and assign that project to somebody else. And the third one is trust and test, which means that you trust the process. Many a times, what we have seen, Elizabeth, is that people are so, cringe towards perfectionism that nobody else can do it for them, and they really want to do it their everything, because of which sometimes many important tasks get a backseat. So you have to trust the process. If it's your VA, if it's your employee, if it is a friend who's possibly helping you, a colleague, whosoever it is. So you trust the process and trust the process as a trial period, so that you can, gain momentum, understand how it goes, learn from it, and of course, you eventually review and refine the process. So I think to begin with, the CAT process, which is clarify, assign, and trust, is my go to rule. And it can be the same thing for your social media support as well. Somebody who's possibly looking for social media support, they can create a list of things that they would want to seek help from. Maybe they want to take care of their content themselves, right? And maybe they want to outsource everything else, maybe the strategy part, maybe the idea part, maybe commenting, maybe designs and all of that. So they can create a list and then assign that to the people around. And experts, when I say so, because perhaps as a coach you're not in the business to market yourself, you're here to coach people, motivate them, meet new people, and then trust the process. So do you think this is something that would be relevant for your friend to, get thoughts on?
So today we got a report. Today I got a report, meaning I listened to a show that I always listen to that I like, and I learned that the Golden Globes, the powers that be of the Golden Globes, have included podcasts as a category for awards. So more on this to come. I have a lot to say in commentary. It's going to be a response piece to some of the opinions I've already heard. What do you think? So I put a post out on Substack this morning, and it just says that I am working on an episode for questions and comments around podcasts on the Golden Globe. So that's it. That's the topic. And open quote, podcasts and the Golden Globes, close quote. Talk to you soon. Yes, I think that actually this is fantastic. I love the cat and the analogy and an acronym. So clarity, assign, and trust. So basically, I have questions at each stage of this because to clarify, I have to decide what I think only I can do, and I would you would think that would be easy. uh, yes, there are some things that I know that only I can do. Maybe it's as clear as private information. Like I can't get you to log into my bank account. I don't want you to do that. I don't want, I don't, I if I want to be the person who writes a paragraph about something and I'm supposed to be the writer, then I need to be that voice. That's something that I should do myself. But then that's where it starts to get tricky because I can get to the assigned part. I can come up with some things that are not necessarily things that I have to do. I need to let somebody else do those. And then the trust part, right? So this was a journey for me recently where I um felt like maybe I should let some of these things, some of the tasks are actually creative tasks, like creating some of the content. And so it's I think maybe even more professional to let my project manager be a second set of eyes on that creative content. Maybe I think something looks really cool, but she looks at it and says, I don't know if this makes sense for your audience right now, or even just to tweak it a little bit. So I want to trust my project manager more, and I want to give that person more creative leverage. What do you think about that?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Okay.
When you sort of talk about, the clarity part, sometimes people are very confused because, and I get it. I mean, as a solopreneur, as a small size team, there's only limited that you can do, and there's so much and so many task lists that you have to accomplish in a day, in a week, perhaps in a month, that it can get a little overwhelming, right? And I always think of your business as a department. For example, within your business, you've got a department of operations. Under operations, it can be your primary services. What are you offering? Is that something that anybody else can do? Perhaps for a small business owner offering services, the answer might be no, nobody else can do it for me. A part of finance, can somebody else do that for me? Maybe yes. If there are many list of clients, and a long list of clients, keeping track of those invoicing and all of that is becoming tricky. Um, and the software that you're taking support from is becoming overwhelming. That can be a way of taking support. If no, I mean, if there are not a lot of invoices and finance management and you have a clear understanding, you sort of continue doing it. Then comes the part of marketing, right? And sales. And why they are two very different departments in a business, I feel that they go hand in hand for most businesses and more so for a solopreneur. Now, when I talk about sales, I'm not talking about the hardcore part of selling when I'm saying, hey, do cold calling. Sales is also a very elongated process, Elizabeth, which means that are you reaching the right kind of people? Are you making the right kind of connections, perhaps on LinkedIn, or maybe are you growing your email list as a marketing initiative? And those are a few things that you want to identify that I think as a service provider, I enjoy meeting people. And maybe I like going to networking events. So I will keep that part under my sales bucket for myself. But maybe I don't like
Oh.
reaching out to people on LinkedIn, but it is essential. And I don't want to do salesy cold outreaches. I might want to read them one of my latest ebooks just to get their feedback and build on connections. I might want to invite them for my LinkedIn Live. I might want to invite them for my free webinar or paid webinar. And maybe I'm confused about seeking suggestions about what my next webinar can be about. And people love sharing wisdom in general. So rather than, you doing it because perhaps you don't have the time, like I said, this is a priority for you to do. It's a priority for you as a small business owner who has got limited pipeline to do it. But because you don't enjoy it or because you don't have the time, you let this pass on to the other person. Similarly, you talked about marketing. Maybe there can be you enjoy creating content, or maybe you enjoy creating your own design. You do it yourself and then seek support for the rest of the part, right? And like I said, the second part of it is assigning. Where do I even begin with this part? You cannot reach to the second stage of assigning until you have clarity. And you will never
Mm.
have full clarity. I don't believe that you will ever have full clarity. None of us have, right? But I think even if you've reached about a 60%, 70% clarity list, you can speak to people who can help you evolve. And when you write, I think it's
Mm.
anyway giving you a lot of throwing back in terms of wisdom. Once your first step is clear, you go to assign. Now look around. Who are your most trustworthy entrepreneurs that you know? Who are your friends who have been in business, something that you do? Have you sort of been associated with any coaching school, any community circles, networking circles? Can they help you figuring out who can help you? There are many communities who take names. Maybe people recommend, like you are working with an organization who perhaps help you build up your website and somebody reaches out to you, you'll be more than happy to recommend their name, right? Because they've done a good
Right.
job. Or maybe tell them that no, please don't work with them. Maybe because your experience was not good enough, and you lay down the reasons, and maybe they can figure it out themselves. So I think going to the network, I think as humans, I always say, Elizabeth, that we are wired to be together. And if we don't go to our support systems to seek help, where does it all coming from? And because
Mm.
our task list is smaller, go with the trial version with your trusting period. So does this sort of give alignment of how this can be possible?
Yes, you're an awesome speaker. I feel encouraged, and I feel like I have a little bit of a map. I feel like what I've learned from working with Meenakshi, my body people here who have heard me talk about Meenakshi, and I think that um, I've gone from thinking that I have to control the content because it has to be 100% my creation for it to be real or something, all the way to I am sort of now at the place where I want her to just do everything. I look at the work and I think, well, you could do this so much better than I can do anyway, and you understand the message anyway. But there's something that you said that that I want to repeat. Right? If you can't guess, you're never going to be 100% clear. You're never going to have 100% clarity, and that's okay. So if you have what you think is 60 to 70% clarity, and that made me giggle, you can speak to people who can help you evolve. And I thought that was really fantastic line right there. You should write that down and publish it somewhere, because that is exactly how I sort of started to feel when I was sharing some creative work. And then I would go to my project manager and I would say, This is what I think I want to say. Can you write something for me? And then she would come back with something that got all exactly the points, and it sounds fantastic. And I'm proud to put it out because I feel like it's been professionally looked at. So that was also a big thing, right? Is even if I don't want to let go of all of my creative thoughts right away, I really, really sleep better at night thinking, oh, knowing there is a professional who is a second set of eyes, who is proofreading, who is looking for synchronicity, making sure that we didn't miss anything, right? My guests are to get several clips per episode, and there have been a couple times where she said, "Now wait a minute, we didn't finish everything from last week, so it's important to stay on track." So I really am now dependent on her, or choosing to be dependent on her to look at those things for me, and it's a huge, huge relief.
I'm so glad, Elizabeth. And you know what? While you were saying that, I mean, this is what I really hope that people can understand, that it starts with very micro letting go. Like you said, you were perhaps not ready of letting go.
Mm,
You never wanted her to take care of your entire task list. You
mhm,
started small, and that's how the trust building happens with anybody. Think of it, of you dating somebody. If you
mhm,
ever dated, I mean, anybody who's listening to it, if you've ever been in a dating experience, it always starts small, and then it perhaps goes into a very beautiful relationship, or you either break up, right? But it has to start small. You cannot go in to a business meeting or a conversation like this in terms of delegation. And I'm not just speaking from a virtual assistant project manager experience. Even when you
mm,
hire an employee, it takes time to build upon the trust from both ends, right? You cannot expect that you are having the most you're giving the best of it, but the other person is not reciprocating. So relationships are always two-sided. And because you started small, Elizabeth, for yourself, now you've reached a stage that you know that this person, I can rely on this person. And it's because of which your perhaps overwhelming aspect of you, what should I write, how should I write, is reducing, and you're better, and you're sleeping well. I mean, it's the most beautiful thing I have heard, right? Because imagine if somebody can sleep well, it's the most human thing I think humans demand. Even if you're
yes.
going to share it, yeah, right? So what a beautiful way of expressing how this journey has been for you. And because you started with perhaps a clarity list, and then you looked out for assigning this project somehow, micro letting go with your trusting process, and now the trust is increasing, and I hope it grows.
Yes, absolutely. I think in part of this micro letting go, I also am interested in the idea or the process of learning from each other. What are the things that you like to do? Maybe when I met Meenakshi, I didn't know what is her favorite part of working on the podcast for me to do, right? Does she like doing writing? Does she like looking up things? Is she a research person? Is she a video person? And these are things that I didn't know right at the beginning. And by the way, I also want to say for those who might be thinking, oh, she must be paying this person full time. No, where this is a few hours a week. It's not very much. In fact, I imagine that in her couple hours a week, she only really probably spends 10 minutes on what send her, because it takes me a really long time to sit and curate things. And so when I think about a task for her, it probably doesn't take her hardly any time. So I probably need to give her more work, even though she's only doing this for me a couple hours a week. So number one, it's only a small amount of time anyway. I'm not taking on like a full-time employee. And two, there are things that maybe she likes to do that I don't even think about, that this is also a fun outlet for her maybe.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth, interesting point. When I talked about the dating experience, that's how you get to know about what your partner likes, right?
Right. Yes.
Exploring what the other person likes, and then perhaps, I mean, yes, it's a little different from dating because you don't keep assigning tasks, but yes, um, referring to the conversation. That's very interesting, Elizabeth. And because you have been in this space, Elizabeth, how has this? I mean, there are so many people out there who are podcast hosts, and I know managing a podcast. We were at the speaking event the other day as well, where you were also talking in this space. How overwhelming do you think podcasts can be, and how do you think taking support from a virtual assistant can sort of reduce the overwhelm? What are the things that one can really outsource in the beginning for you, from your perspective?
Oh yeah, just the clips. I mean, this is it. This is it. I think that the podcast world is fantastic for people who want to go deep. So there are listeners who want to listen to an entire episode. And most people, though, on the surface, are going to experience your podcast as those clips. They're going to connect to your social media, maybe even more as far as how many followers and a broad view, right? People will go, oh, yeah, I've heard of that show. Oh, yeah, I've seen that show because they're connected to social media. And it takes me forever to think about even just two or three places where I have to post the same clips. It feels like the time it takes to keep track of that becomes exponential. And I don't really understand how that happens, right? If even let's say I just start with one clip that I picked, easy peasy, and I think, okay, I'm going to post it on YouTube, I'm going to post it on Instagram, I'm going to post it on LinkedIn, post it on Facebook. This is not complicated. And I tried to do that for myself for months before it was taking me more time to map that out on a piece of paper than it was to edit the whole episode. So if I want exposure on more than just one platform, um, I don't understand how people do that for themselves on top of actually doing the work itself.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, a lot of times we have got so many podcast clients who are working with us, and many people have got their own identity. Like many people come to us that their biggest challenge is distribution, right?
Yes.
Like something you touched upon. A lot of times people come to us where they say that, we just want somebody to take care of the operation parts. And for example, even if they're doing it on StreamYard or anywhere else, you need somebody to manage the platform on their behalf. Which reels, how should I post, where should I post? And then even the pre-distribution, pre-production part, where sometimes people are like, them, we're so busy with offering or working with our clients or doing something else that we don't know what are the topics that I should have, what are the pipeline, how should I invite guests, how should I monetize it. Many a times people don't know how to begin monetization. Sometimes people want to have ads and all of those things, so people reach to us from many different perspectives, but I think most of them really hate the part of post production and management of it, as I hear. And I think that's exactly something, I don't know if you hate it, but it's definitely a little overwhelming, as you say.
Yeah, it's so overwhelming. Right. We try to stay away from the word hate, but yes, it is. It comes out. That word comes out anyway.
Yeah.
I think that my uh, well, actually, earlier you said we were talking about We were talking about prioritizing, and you used the word networking, and I thought, oh, that is a fantastic example because that is something that had not thought of before to actually write down on a piece of paper. Oh, when I go to a networking event in person or virtually, yeah, I have to be the one who's showing up and showing my face if I'm the face of the organization or the role that I'm in. And then furthermore, you you don't I don't think about networking as a task. It's just something that I have to do. I've just never thought of it as a task that can be thought of as, do I do this or do somebody else does that? So to put it on a list and on paper like this in part of this exercise, really, really made me think about how everybody I hope has a coach of some sort, and I was given advice by my friend Scott Perry. He said, "You just need to have as many conversations as you can have, Elizabeth. I think that's what you need to focus on." And I listen to that line in my head a lot because he's so right. And pre-production, post-production, in a perfect world, if I could just get on the camera and talk and turn the camera off, and then that's all I do, that's what I want to focus on, is like what you and I are doing here now. However, right, those pre-production and post-production things could take away from the networking. So right now, sometimes networking is me on LinkedIn inviting you to come and speak with me like we're doing here today. And that's a kind of networking that I want to be the person who makes that invite to a guest, because I want it to be a personal experience. And that's why only I can do that part. Now, once we've talked here and I say, "Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with my guests. Guess what? Next week, Meenakshi's going to send you A, B, and C follow up with materials that you can use to share." And so that is really magical. In the pre production, I'm also working on making sure that Meenakshi can somehow be looped in on my appointments ahead of time, so that when I get to post production, she already has the guests' information. And so there's a way that I can do that better, where she's looped in on both ends. And I think that'll create a whole new ballgame.
Absolutely. I mean, look, there are things that when we are working with clients, we always get like an outside-in perspective when we hear it. But when you speak to people like you, Elizabeth, is when we really realize a lot around the inside-out perspective, like that's in your head at the moment. And you're sharing these little tasks, how small they are, but they're so important. That's why I sort of always comment on the priority and importance list. Like it has to be priority and important for you to do it. If
Mm,
it's important, but perhaps if it's priority, but it's not so important, you can delegate that. So, for example, it's a
mm,
priority for you to come on the show, and it's equally important for you to be on the show. Nobody else can do it for you. But is it a priority for you to send out that thank you message? Yes, important. No, something else important. Can somebody else send the thank you message on your behalf? Yes, for sure. So the priority and important list is crucial here, and I'm glad that uh, the clarity for you has also grown over time, Elizabeth,
mm.
as I see. Like, talk to me about the mindset that you had before you perhaps even started working with Minakshi as your virtual assistant with Fuchsia. So, what was the mindset before then?
Well, that's a really cute question. I think that, yes, I was sitting on my couch with my laptop, I'm having a Word document open, a calendar open, a paper calendar, and then just a blank piece of paper. And that's what it physically looked like. Like, how do I map out when and what I want to put on social media? And that's when I started to get really frustrated. I'm trying to remember the first conversation that I had with with Fuchsia, and to even talk about actual even talk about what would that look like if I got some help. And yeah, I was nervous. I thought, well, I thought I'm going to still need to have my own game plan when I show up to the first meeting. I thought, I don't even know like how to explain to my project manager what I've done or what I want to do. I kind of had to, I was nervous to show up and say, "I don't know. Let's just start from scratch. Can you tell me what you can do?"
Ooh, so that's the emotions people generally go through, right? It's like um, sometimes people are ready, but they just don't know how to communicate their feelings because they've reached that stage of overwhelm. I mean, like you said, you were so frustrated with the social media part of it, perhaps, that it was difficult for you to even go ahead and communicate what are the tasks that you would want to delegate. And perhaps, that's also a space of ambiguity. Correct me if I'm wrong, Elizabeth. There's also a space of ambiguity, the space of unknown, where you don't know if this is even a task that somebody can delegate. Like, can somebody even take up posting? Can somebody even take up commenting? Does that task even exist? So do you think that's also an ambiguity which added to the nervousness?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was really happy that I had this sense that I was going to be talking to professionals who could do all sorts of things.
Hmm.
And so I was happy about that. And at the same time thinking, now, where do I start with what I want you to do? So I had to ask, what can you do? What should you do? What would you like to do? I almost felt like I was going to come off as not very professional, or maybe I don't know what I'm doing when I have to come to the first meeting and ask somebody else, what can you do? What do you do? Because it makes me feel like I am a beginner, which I am, and that's okay too. I have a lot of, I have a decade of experience in somewhere else in somebody else's office, but I don't know where to office. So yeah, I think I was really nervous just to even say, I don't even know what to tell you what to do.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. And I think because you showed up, Elizabeth, it already showed up that you're a confident entrepreneur.
Mm,
I think the underconfident, and I'm sorry to hate that term also, but I think the people who are sort of still questioning themselves, I think it's important. Like you talked about your friend, that you should have as many conversations as possible. I think it is so right, not just for your potential clients and audience, but also all other group of people, all other entities who can help you. So
mm.
because you've had this conversation with the potential VA agency, is when you figure that, okay, no, I don't think that I'm so confused. There's some tasks that can be outsourced, some of the tasks that I don't want to give away. It's a learning experience for everybody, irrespective of how new or old you are. So I think it goes back to the conversation where you talk about have as many conversations as possible, not just with your target group, but also with potential entities who can help you with your website, potential entities who can help you with virtual assistants, social media, PR agencies, networking groups. It all goes back to having more conversations. And I think that's where the nervousness would start decreasing.
You're right. I do feel so much different. I think that that the folks at Fuchsia that I've met, you all are, I shouldn't say that I'm surprised, but I am impressed with how much experience each of you individually brings to the table. It's really wild how much you can offer, and it's as much advertising as you do. I'm always learning about something new that you have expertise in, as a group or as an individual. Let's see. I'll maybe give you an example. Is Well, I already said that the videos that Meenakshi can put together for me are way better than the ones I can do on my own. Um, oh well, you know what? I know. Let me just say it like this: I can pay for all kinds of social media posting software things. I have spent time looking at that. Well, what if I, got actually um, a program that would just make it easy for myself, and maybe I'm not supposed to be involving another person. Maybe I am supposed to be doing this using an automated program, because there are so many options out there. And then what I figured out was I would be locked into you doing only whatever that program can do. And so I was so happy to realize, right, that if I have a person to talk to, if I have an actual expert, Meenakshi can actually do all kinds of, it can actually do all kinds of actual research and quality and do quality assessment. I can't get that from a program. Like I'm so glad that I don't have a software that's supposed to be emulating a project manager, because when I need something different to happen, or if I have an actual question that's about quality or strategy, do not want to interact with software for that. I want Meenakshi to talk to me.
Yeah, yeah. And Elizabeth, I think there's also, as we move towards the future, people are having more reliance on both technology and AI. I think you cannot just be dependent on just the technology, and you just cannot be dependent on a human as well. Like, I'm pretty sure you or Meenakshi also use some kind of AI tools,
Mhm.
some softwares to elevate, right? So I think the present and future will always be how humans can advance AI, like how you and Meenakshi perhaps can come together and maybe use a particular software or like an AI tool to save time, save money, and scale up together. So with
Yeah.
AI, you can really leverage some time, you can really leverage some cost. But with the human being around you, it's not just the aspect of scaling up, it's also the human minds working together and syncing the emotions that perhaps AI cannot yet understand. Maybe when you're in a call and you're confused about two little things, and because Meenakshi has been with you for a while, I think she can genuinely understand that perhaps this is Elizabeth at this point in time feeling this way, but this is not how she is as a human being. She would want to take this route because of A, B, and C and the trends that Meenakshi has analyzed as a human working with you rather than a bot. But at the same time, AI can support in the back end or even parallelly, where I think the communication has to be so clear that humans and AI can come together and work together. Does that make sense to you as well, or do you think no, it's the only reliance that will happen on humans?
No, I love this conversation. No, I can't. I mean, AI for me is basically a fancy version of a search engine. So I don't really feel like it. I think I think and you can't even just say AI anymore, because what are we talking about? Are we talking about like a chat GBT, or are we talking about like a software program? Because now the world is different, even when we just use that phrase AI. Um, in fact, my dad asked me a question at dinner a couple of months ago. So, what do you think about AI? And I thought, I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what you think AI is. So, um, yeah, I use AI, and I've told Meenakshi to use any kind of tools that she prefers to use. There's just no way that we can do all of this stuff by ourselves. We'd be stuck, I don't, I, it would take forever. We would fall behind. Um, Transcribing. I use AI for transcribing. I use AI for those literary tools like the magazine, the Dear Business Coach podcast magazine is an AI magazine. I don't pretend to write all of those articles myself. They're essentially a curated magazine article that uses the quotes from the guests in their interviews. I do not want Meenakshi sitting at her desk spending an hour typing out all of the quotes from the transcript and thinking about what to put in that article. No, that's what AI is for. I want Meenakshi to look at the magazine and check professional things that I can't do. And this is a good another example of what can you do versus what you can't do. Well, you can't proofread your own work, as controversial as that sounds. How many times have I misspelled the guest's name? A lot. And that's one of the first things that I tell Meenakshi is, I know this sounds silly. Please make sure that I spelled the guest's name properly on all of the marketing stuff. So I will send her a link to the guest's profile, their LinkedIn profile, and give her the video and anything else. And just ask her to make sure I spelled their names correctly. And AI cannot do that because they don't know
Yeah,
unless you spell it correctly.
that's true. That's true. I mean, these are those minute things that I think perhaps AI can never learn, or at least in the recent future, where these are human mistakes that we all do sometimes. Like when I am writing, and especially with AI coming in this world, Elizabeth, I have realized that I have become really poor at spellings because there's autocorrection, there's this, there's that, right? And if I've sort of put the wrong input in my bot or any other AI platform, then boom, it's gone. So I think this is where humans will come in, where they are really proofreading. And I know in the beginning also you talked about proofreading, where you write a content and you sort of give it to Meenakshi to say it. Meenakshi can give you an outside in perspective that no, Elizabeth, this doesn't reach to your audience. So I think you talked
Mm.
about proofreading a couple of times, and with entrepreneurs or people who are running businesses, there were so many things running in their heads. I think proofreading is a very, very important thing to take care of, and this is where other people can come in and support as well.
I know. I think I've kept you a little bit longer than I was supposed to. And Fuchsia is launching, has launched, just launched their own uh, capabilities with bringing in AI. So, do you want to tell us a little bit?
Of course, Elizabeth. So, because Fuchsia has got such a long-standing relationship with solopreneurs and coaches, and our heart is always centered around supporting humans. It's because of those humans that we have been able to build up on this AI platform. It's called Fuchsia.ai, and it's a space where you can capture, nurture, and convert leads. I'll say this again. This is a space where you can capture, nurture, and convert leads. And we realized that with solopreneurs, with coaches, with small business owners, it was so difficult for them and sometimes very expensive for them to capture leads, capture interest of their audience, and then nurture them and perhaps convert them. So this interesting platform can really give you the capability of creating your own landing pages in just seconds, in just minutes, that you can share as your business card. Perhaps you don't have a website yet. You just have to write
Mm,
the prompt and it can create an interesting landing page for yourself. It can create ebooks for you. It can create some very interesting lead magnets for you in just few minutes. And this is a very interesting resource page that you can create and you can send to your audience, something like what we are doing today. And you might want to send it out to your audience who are your listeners as a gift that, hey, we talked about networking or we talked about delegation. And perhaps you can ask Meenakshi to use Future.ai and create create an ebook which talks about the 10 steps of networking or 10 steps of delegation, or maybe 5 things you can delegate as a return gesture to your audience. So this
mm,
is the way you're nurturing your clients, and this also gives you a whole lot of capabilities to track your leads. Where are they? And the best part about it is that as humans, we touched upon sleep as well, Elizabeth, and how important it is for you, for any entrepreneur to sleep.
mhm.
Future AI gives you an opportunity to create your own digital twin, which is your own avatar, which can speak to your audience even while you're asleep. So if somebody has a question to you about something, about the business that they're stuck in, they heard your podcast and want to learn a little bit about yourself, want to learn a little bit tips and tricks about business, and you're asleep, your digital can respond to it, right? It can help you, and the digital train can be trained in a way just like how you speak, just like how you would talk, and it's not replacing you. It is not replicating you. It is just genuinely trying to help your audience while you're away from work or doing something important, just like sleep or a client meeting. So it's a very strong, powerful tool to nurture and convert leads. And I think anybody who's struggling with capturing leads, who don't have a strong pipeline, who's literally confused about how should I nurture my potential conversations and how should I convert them with constant reminders, this is a platform that you should definitely go and check out.
Oh man, so what? So I just literally go to Fuchsia.ai.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. So if I go to Fuchsia.ai, then I can probably browse around or get an appointment to talk to somebody or get some more information about how I would start using it.
Yeah. You can get an appointment, speak to sales people who are the growth managers as humans who can genuinely help you understand what you do. And you can otherwise also just log into the platform. The platform is partially free for people to explore, We don't
Oh.
want to restrict anybody, so you can start creating a landing page for yourself. Maybe having a strong personal brand landing page which talks about that I'm a coach, I'm a podcast host, I'm also open to speaking opportunities, and train your digital twin. So obviously it's a beta phase version that we have, but it's free to use for people to use. Try using it or speak to sales.
Ah, okay, cool. So yeah, so I can go in there and play around is the word that I like to use. Okay, Fuchsia.ai. All right, so now what about you? I can connect with you here on LinkedIn, I presume.
Of course, I'm always active on LinkedIn. I just love meeting new people, and also reading about the content that they post. So if you want to always know where I'm hanging out, what's in my mind, take some advice, or even help me sort of evolve in some way, by offering your services, or maybe just giving me a feedback like an outside in perspective. Hey Priyanka, you wrote this post and this can be better off. Feel free. I'm always a learner and will continue to be so. So LinkedIn is the place.
Wow, so generous. I That's amazing. I have leveraged you a couple of times already. And I thank you so much. Thank you for coming and talking today with me here. And so actually this live is of course for folks who are watching now. Thank you for being a part of this now. And then also this this live will turn into a podcast episode. So that'll be a few weeks down the road. So the rest of the world will be able to hear this conversation. If you're an email subscriber, you'll get early access. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day, Priyanka.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's always insightful and wonderful to speak with you. You're so inspiring. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You've been listening to the Dear Business Coach podcast. My name's Elizabeth Walker, producer and host. Don't forget to subscribe to email. Thank you so much for being here, and find one thing today to move your business forward. Contact me at dearbusinesscoachpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, you are a superstar.